All right, so this will be the third and last video about the British and Irish Lions tour here in Australia. And we're going to break through the games that will be played, where they'll be played, and also the details of the stadium and also the history of the team. So Argentina versus British and Irish Lions, etc. We'll run through those games and we'll do a little bit of a random prediction at the end. Obviously, I want to compare it, obviously, before the Six Nations, after Six Nations, and we can compare it as well after the actual tour as well. So we can see how we go with it. Always put your guesses and all that type of stuff down in the comments. We'll be able to come back to it and we can see who did the best. Like the video if you do like these sorts of videos. Also subscribe if you want to see everything to do with rugby. If you want to discuss rugby, then hit that subscribe button below. Now let's get into this one here. I'll get my ugly mug out of the way. So the first game will be played in Aviva Stadium over in Ireland. This is on Saturday, June the 21st. Excuse the time there. This is Australian time. Now the capacity is 51,700. They have played against each other 7 times. And there has been 6 wins for the British and Irish Lions and 1 draw between the two. So you can see there 1910, it was 28-3 to the Lions. Back then it was British. Then you got on the 1927, 31st of July, 37-0. Another 1927, 46-0. 34-3 and 43-0. So an absolute whitewash. And I think that's why the British and Irish Lions haven't probably toured back to Argentina for a full tour. And then you got also the Lions beating them on 1936, 23-0. So it's a big gap. We've got about a 69-year gap before the next time they play in Cardiff at the Millennium Stadium, where they drew 25 all. As you can see here, here's the stadium here in the bottom left. Most of you probably would know what the stadium looks like. And there's the touring team on the bottom right back in 1910. So I think it's going to be great. I can't wait for it. I think, Argentina are going to do better than we think because it'll be the first game the British and Irish Lions actually play together as a squad. So it'll be interesting to see because Argentina will have the benefit of having played together where the Lions haven't. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that is the game that the Lions can slip up if there is going to be a game they're going to lose. So it'll be interesting watch for sure. But it will be the home support, which will probably kind of equal that out as well. So can't wait for that one. Now on to the second game of the tour. It is the Western Force versus the Lions 1 week later from the game in Aviva Stadium. So obviously I'm thinking the top team will play in Aviva and then they'll probably send their second sort of team to already down here to play against the Force. So it's not the traveling, you're getting used to it sort of thing. It'll be played in Perth at Optus Stadium, which is a 65,000 capacity when they play rugby there. So you can see the stadium, it's obviously made for cricket and also Aussie rules. So it's a great stadium right on the river, you can see down there. So they've played each other 5 times, Western Australia 4 times, where the Lions, played in 1930, 1966, 1989, 2001. You can see the results there, absolute beltings, really. And then you can see the Western Force in 2013 lost 69-17 to the Lions. So Lions are 5-0 against Western Australia, Western Force. You can see some pictures here from the 2013 game there as well. And nowadays, unfortunately, that is seen as a high tackle. It's pretty ridiculous, right? The seatbelt tackle. Now we move on to the third game of the tour. It is against the Reds, one of their long-standing, rivals as a club. You can see they're playing on July the 2nd on a Wednesday night in Suncorp Stadium, so I'll be at this game for sure. A 51,700 capacity. It is made for rugby, the stadium at least, so it is a good rugby stadium. You can see it there. It is a rectangular stadium, and you feel quite close to the ground, even if you are higher up, because I sat probably up there, I think, against when the Box played, and you felt like, you're not far away from the game, so it's a very good stadium to watch. I've been there a lot of times for rugby league games as well. You can see here, the first game they played against each other was 1888, where it was three goals and 4 tries to the Lions, and one goal and 1 drop. It looks like. So it seems to be, it probably would have been like I don't even know what the score would have been back then, because I know tries were only 3 points back then, but not sure if the drop goals were also 3. Not too sure. I'll have to check that one up. But you can see they've played against each other 14 times since 1988, all the way through to 2013. The Lions winning 12 and the Reds winning 2. The most recent one was in 2013, where the Lions won 22-12. In 2001, Lions won 42-8. And you can see there's a lot of close games here too. So 1989, 1915, 1971, the Reds won 15-11. You can see here again, just many close games, even in 1908, 11-8, that sort of thing. So it's never big wallopings, apart from really in 2001. And I think that Lions team was pretty strong as well. So 12-2, you can see from a picture here from 2013 with Warburton there in the background. And yet again, I mean, 22-12, everyone will be pretty happy with that sort of scoreline. As long as it's close and it's a good game of rugby, I think everyone will be pretty happy. So we move on to the next game, which will be on July the 5th, a Saturday night. Waratahs versus Lions. They've played each other 19 times. There's a capacity of 45,500 at the Alliance Stadium. It is a fairly new stadium, and you can see it just looks really pretty, looks really good. It is good to watch rugby at. You feel close to the field, not too far back, even for the higher kind of points. And the way it's designed, the sound is super loud in there. I've watched one game there before, but it's super loud in there before. So the crowd noise really stays in there. So the Waratahs have played 19 times against the Lions. Lions have won 15, Waratahs 3, and there was 1 draw. And this goes all the way back to 1888 as well. A lot of times they were actually touring New Zealand, and they would finish off in Australia, play a couple of club games, and Waratahs and the Reds were usually on the end there. But we can go back to 2013. I mean, Lions smoked them 47-17, 2001, 41-24. But then it was a close game back in 1989, 23-21, 14-12 in 1971. But the last time the Waratahs beat them was 2 times in a row, actually. It was in 1930, 28-3 they won. And in 1959, 18-14, back at the Sydney Cricket Ground. So it's going to be a great game. You can see here, 2001, there was a bit of tough feeling, right? Ronan O'Gara got bashed up, and, there was... Back then, rugby was, when you watch it now, you watch a 2001 game, you look at it and you go, what the hell is going on here? It's bodies flying everywhere. There's no, crazy amount of rules like there is now. So it's just people running in off their feet, smashing each other as hard as they can. There was bad blood, where nowadays it's very much more of a professional, everyone handles himself very professionally. Where back then it was, if you dislike that person, you're going to let them know and you're going to make it shown. So, I mean, the Lions have had quite a few scraps with the touring teams, just purely because that's how it used to be. It was very much you want to do that to us? We're going to do this back to you. But nowadays, like I said, it's so controlled by the refs and, TMO and all that type of stuff. And people don't want to lose their pay. They don't want to get suspended. So they don't want to do anything stupid. Now we move on to the next game, which will be against the Brumbies. And the Brumbies have only played against them 3 times, winning 1 out of the 3 games and the Lions winning 2. And it was actually 2013 when the Brumbies did beat them. So it was 14 points to 12 in Canberra. The game before that was 30 points to 28 to the Lions in 2001, and 1989, 41 to 25 for the Lions. So, I mean, they've kept it pretty close, and it's going to be an interesting game. I think the Brumbies will fairly keep it close against them, but obviously without the Wallabies there, etc., it's going to be quite tough. But I think now that the Rebels have been, I guess, closed down, shut down, it might make these squads actually a bit stronger. They'll have a bit more depth, a couple more Wallabies coming in, and, players with experience actually being able to cover those spots when they get chosen for the Wallabies. So it will be played on a Wednesday night at 7:45. It's going to be cold, but, which will help the British and Irish Lions for sure. It's a 25,000 seater. You can see it's kind of like it's built into the ground sort of thing. I mean, a lot of games have been played there. Canberra have won quite a few Super Rugby championships there, so it's going to be a sellout. It's going to be a good game. Actually, I might check tickets there too. I might try and make it down for that game as well, because it seems the club games haven't sold out, but all the Wallabies and Lions games have sold out a long time ago. So 2-1 to the Lions. Then we move, as you can see here, sorry, we'll go through it here at the bottom right. You can see 2001, these two pictures, and you can see in 2013 there as well. Then we move to the Anzac game. So it's a combined team of New Zealand and Australian players. It's going to be weird, I think, because how many of these players, I guess, have already played against the Lions? Would it be players from the Reds, from the Waratahs? It's going to be a bit of a weird show, I think, but maybe it'll be the Anzacs. It'll be players that actually play for clubs overseas. It could be maybe players like Richie Mo'unga, Brodie Retallick, kind of players like that who maybe don't play Super Rugby. So it's going to be interesting. I think they will field a pretty solid team, I think. But yeah, it's going to be tough for them too, because it'll be their first time playing together as well. So you can see here it is played on July the 12th at the Adelaide Oval. You can see the Adelaide Oval down here, 53,000 seater capacity. Yes, it was built yet again for AFL and cricket, but it has hosted big rugby games in the past. So hopefully they can put some extra seating closer to the field and actually make that capacity more. You can see they have played a Anzac 15 versus the British and Irish Lions back in 1989. The bottom right, you can see a few pictures here of them. So it's like a gold, white, and black kind of jumper. I think this jersey will be pretty cool. I think they're going to come up with a really cool jersey to combine the gold and the black together. Don't even need the white in there. I think just the gold and black, perfect. Make a great, almost like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can make like a jersey like that, and it'll look super cool. Maybe like even like a striped one, with the stripes just over each other. I think that'll look pretty cool. Definitely would love to go and watch this one too, but we're traveling to South Korea in May, so I doubt, I'll probably have the time off work and all that type of stuff to do all this. But like I said, I'll try and make all the games I can. Now we move on to the next one. So you can see it's the Wallabies versus the Lions there as well. So it's Saturday, July the 19th, the first test at Suncorp Stadium. 52,000 seater capacity. You can see it's like we went over before for the Reds, it's a pretty ground, really nice looking ground. So in total, the Lions have played against Australia 23 times, 17 wins for the Lions and 6 against Australia. The Box and the All Blacks actually have a winning record against the Lions. I mean, I think with the Box, I think they've won about 8 more games than the Lions have, where the All Blacks have won like 20 more games. I think it's like 27-7 or something like that. So the All Blacks have really shown it to them, I guess, in the past. But you can see in Brisbane, the Lions are undefeated, 8-0. 8-0. You can see the results here. So the first one was 1899. Britain won 11-0. 1904, Britain won 17-3. 1950, 19 points to 6 to the Lions. 1959, 17-6. 1966, 31-0, so walloping. And then it gets kind of a little bit closer from here. Then you got in 1989, 1912, 2001, 29-13. And then you got in 2013, 23-21. And that was a classic game too. So if you do want to watch, I guess the highlights are available on YouTube. So just type in, Lions versus Australia 2013 and, be prepared. It's a great game. You can see here James O'Connor scoring a try there in 2013. 2001, there's a scrum there. So I'm predicting a really good game. And I think the first game is the one where the Wallabies, I don't know if they might struggle because it'll be their first game together again in a while for the Wallabies, where the Lions have probably been playing with each other this whole sort of tour now and getting to know each other a bit more. So it will be a tough one, but it'll be at a sold out crowd. And I think even around the stadium, there'll be a few thousand extra supporters there around too. So we move on to the next game, which hasn't been announced yet. So I've pulled up a couple articles. I haven't found anything because the Melbourne Rebels have pulled out. there is not really a team at the moment. They're thinking about making it like an Indigenous side, so players who's eligible to play for Australia, but they're either Indigenous from Australia or they're Pacific Islander. So where I think it's a bit of a wasted opportunity, I think you should really put Fiji in here. This is a perfect time for Fiji to play. It is at Marvel Stadium, you can see down here on the bottom left. So it's a 56,000 seater, yet again made for AFL. It actually has a roof as well if you need, if it's too cold or whatever. It's a beautiful looking stadium. But the weird thing, why I don't understand why they don't want to pick Fiji, because Fiji has played against the Lions before, and they've actually beaten them. They're 1-0. They're one of, I think they're only the third other nation apart from the All Blacks in South Africa who have a winning record against the Lions, beating them 25 points to 21 back in 1977. And you can see here kind of the pictures from the game, big crowd around. Obviously it's not a big stadium, but you could tell it's a really, really cool crowd there. And it was back at Buckhurst Ground. So I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that they will choose Fiji. But yet again, I think they'll try and make it an Indigenous thing and probably put up a team that's not going to put up a challenge, because there's already so many other teams that have played against them. So we'll see. And hopefully it's not just the same players playing over and over against the Lions. Hopefully it is, like I said, even a combined, I don't know if you remember, there used to be that team, and you used to be able to actually play it on Rugby 2005. And so where it was like the Pacific Nations All-Stars. So it's players from Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, all these countries, and they just choose almost like the barbarians out of it. I remember Bobo, the big winger who used to be a cop. He was like 6'4", and he just could run. One of the best wingers I've ever seen for Fiji. But yeah, I remember him playing, and they used to play a few games actually. They used to get invited, but hopefully we'll see it again. Let me know down below if you actually remember that team as well. But yeah, it'll be great to see Fiji playing them. I really think they'll put up a good challenge as well, because it's between the tests. So the Lions won't be playing their top team. So I think it'll be actually a really, really close game. Now we move to the next one. The second test being played at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, who have withdrawn their bid to host any World Cup games, which like I said in the past, I'm very happy about it, because at the end of the day, most of the people around Australia don't like people who live in Melbourne. I'll just be 100% honest. So for us all to get more games, and for kind of places that want the games, that don't want to withdraw from it because their government has run them into the ground, that's we'll keep the political things for another video. But you can see here, so Melbourne Cricket Ground, July the 26th on a Saturday night, capacity of 100,000, big stadium, be sold out. So you can see they've played 2 times in Melbourne, and both times Australia have actually won. So you can see in 2001, Australia won 35-14, kind of a hiding there. And then in 2013, you can see 16 points to 15 in a very, very tight game. And you can see here a couple of pictures from that 2013 game there with James Horwell and all that playing. So 2-0. Let's see if they can make it 3-0. It'll be interesting. Now we move to the last test, which is at Accor Stadium, as some people like to call it, Stadium Australia or whatever. It's obviously has the ground where they've played the most at, 23 times in total, but 13 times in Sydney. So it might not be at this exact stadium, but they've played in Sydney 13 times, with the Lions winning 9 and Australia winning 4, dating back to 1899. I mean, Aussie winning 13 points to 3 the first game, losing the second and third. And then you can see through to more recent history, 1989, Aussie winning 30 points to 12, then losing 1918 in the second. Then you can see again there in Sydney in 2001, winning 29-23, and then getting absolutely smoked 41 points to 16 in 2013 in front of a sold-out crowd. It was a bit of a letdown. I remember actually following it as well, and yeah, it was a bit of a letdown of a game, but we'll see how it goes this time. And I think, this is at 2013, I mean, the Wallabies were going pretty all right. They made the semi-final of 2011 World Cup. They made the the grand final in 2015 at the World Cup as well. So, and they didn't lose too many players in between. So it'll be interesting to see how they go against the Wallabies when they've actually been at their lowest ranked ever. You can see the stadium here, Accor Stadium, 82,000 seater, which they will probably add a couple extra seats in. You can see it's a beautiful big stadium. 1966, you can see there's a picture of the game there in the black and white photo, and you can see in 1989 there. Look how much smaller the forwards were back then, isn't it crazy? Because you were expected to play 80 minutes back then, not like nowadays. But let's go into some predictions. This is just wild predictions. This is more kind of just going with the heart than the head, because obviously we don't know the teams yet, but I'm thinking Pumas win in Aviva 23-20. Lions smash the Western Force 47-12. Lions beat the Reds 33-22. Beat the Waratahs 26-23. Beat the Brumbies 21-19. And then they will play against the Anzacs and win 34-29. It'll be a free-flowing game, almost like a Barbars game. Then you got against the Wallabies, they'll beat them in Suncorp 24-20. Beat them again at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and then beat them again at Accor Stadium. I just can't see the Wallabies. Oh, sorry. The first game, Wallabies win 24-20. Sorry. Read that one wrong. And then Lions win 37-18 and 28-24 win in Accor Stadium. So 10 total played, 8 wins and 2 losses is my prediction for their tour. Let me know your predictions below. We'll see who can kind of guess these games right in the early guesses, because a lot of people wonder why you're doing it so early, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's just a good way for us to really build up this tour. And, you know, a lot of people saying rugby is dead in Australia, all that type of stuff. And most of these people are either rugby league supporters, AFL supporters, or don't really follow World Rugby either. So they don't understand that when the Wallabies do good, you're going to get, you know, sold out big 100,000 crowds. But when they're doing bad, because the tickets are so quite expensive over here in Australia, as it would be in England, as it would be, but you know, there's different stadiums around the country here. We're much more spread out. So we don't just have the one Twickenham stadium, for example. So it is spread out, and the tickets are still very expensive. So people just don't want to go. And if you're going to pay, you know, you're paying about $15 now for not even a pint, like a schooner. So it's smaller than a pint of beer. And you're also paying over $10 for a hot dog, a pie. Just at the end of the day, it's going to cost you just in drinks, for example, for most people, over $100 just in drinks and food. So if you're taking a family or if you're going with friends, you know, it's going to cost a lot of money. So I think a lot of people don't want to fork that money out if the team isn't going to put up a fighting effort, because they just see it as a bit of a waste of money. And that's how the supporters are here in Australia. It might not be the same for the rest of the world, but it is a very results-driven country that I've noticed. But let me know below what your predictions would be. Like the video if you like it, subscribe as well if you do want to see future videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.